October 27th, 2025, 2:37 p.m. Toronto, Ontario, Canada. While looking at the quarterly forecasts, a news alert popped up on my screen. Trump suspends all trade negotiations with Canada over Reagan ads. Thinking I had misread it, I read it 3 times. Trade negotiations, the talks expected to resolve the 35% tariff that affects my business, have been suspended. Not paused, not postponed. Suspended indefinitely. Because of a television commercial. My name is Margaret Walsh. I am 54 years old and have been the manager of Walsh Manufacturing Solutions, a company that exports specialized industrial equipment from Ontario to American manufacturers for the past 26 years. Last year, we generated $6.3 million in revenue. We provided employment to 31 people. We had customers in 12 U.S. states who trusted and believed in our precision manufacturing. Or we did. Until Donald Trump decided that a political advertisement was more important than the livelihoods of Canadian workers and American manufacturers who depend on cross-border trade. Let me explain how we got here, because the story of my business's downfall is the story of Trump's increasingly unbalanced and nonsensical approach to trade policy, and Canada's attempt to preserve its dignity, while our southern neighbor has treated us not as a friend for over a century, but as an enemy. Walsh Manufacturing started in 1999. I'd worked as an industrial engineer for 15 years before striking out on my own, identifying a niche: custom fabricated components for specialized manufacturing equipment. Conveyor systems, automated assembly line parts, precision machined metal components that American manufacturers needed but couldn't source domestically at competitive prices or quality. For 25 years, it worked beautifully. We built strong relationships with American clients, factories in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana. They valued our quality, our reliability, and yes, our competitive pricing, thanks to favorable exchange rates and Canada's skilled manufacturing workforce. Then Trump's second term began, and everything changed. It started in August 2025 when Trump imposed a blanket 35% tariff on all Canadian goods, separate from any sector-specific tariffs. His stated reason was protecting American industry and correcting decades of unfair trade. The real reason, most analysts believed, was political theater. Trump wanted to look tough on trade ahead of the 2026 midterms. That 35% tariff immediately made our products uncompetitive. Here's the math. Before 35%. Tariff. Our manufacturing cost, $10,000 per unit. Shipping logistics, $800. Total cost to U.S. client, $10,800. U.S. client's purchase price, $12,500. Our profit margin, $1,700 per unit, 15.7%. After 35%. Tariff. Our manufacturing cost, $10,000, 35% tariff, $3,500. Shipping logistics, $800. Total cost to U.S. client, $14,300. U.S. client's purchase price, $12,500, same as before, locked by contracts. Our loss, $1,800 per unit. Every sale now lost us money. Every contract we fulfilled brought us closer to bankruptcy. However, there was still hope. Trade talks between the U.S. and Canada started in early October 2025. The administration of Prime Minister Mark Carney pushed for sector-specific assistance, claiming that American businesses and workers profited from Canadian manufacturing partnerships. Both sides agreed that the 35% tariff was hurting companies on both sides of the border, and the negotiations were moving forward. I remember October 15th clearly. There was news that trade negotiators had reached preliminary agreements on several sectors, including industrial manufacturing. My sector. There was talk of reducing the tariff to 8 to 12% for specialty manufacturing components. Still painful, but survivable. I started making plans for how we'd restructure operations to function under that new reality. Then came the Reagan advertisement. Ontario's provincial government, led by Premier Doug Ford, had created a political advertisement using clips of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan discussing trade. The ad suggested that Reagan, a Republican icon, would have opposed Trump's aggressive tariff policies. It was clearly designed to appeal to American conservatives, using their own heroes' words against current policies. Trump lost his mind. On October 23rd, he tweeted, "Canada created a fake ad using Reagan's image and words. Totally dishonest. They're distorting what he said. Reagan supported tariffs when necessary for national security. Negotiations are over until they take it down and apologize." By October 24th, Trump had officially suspended all trade negotiations with Canada. Not just paused them, suspended them. The talks that were about to provide relief to thousands of businesses like mine stopped cold because Trump was angry about a television commercial. Canadian authorities hurried to react. Prior to the suspension, Prime Minister Carney emphasized that Canada was ready to resume negotiations when Washington is ready. He emphasized that workers on both sides of the border would gain from a resolution to the tariff dispute. Premier Ford, trying to salvage the situation, announced on October 27th that Ontario would pull the Reagan advertisement as of that day. But Trump remained unmoved, telling reporters that Canada was playing dirty games and that he could play dirtier. And here I am, October 27th, 2025, watching trade negotiations, my business's only hope for survival, collapse over a political advertisement I had nothing to do with and no control over. The financial reality of my situation is stark. Walsh Manufacturing has been hemorrhaging money since August, when the 35% tariff took effect. Here's our current position. Financial status. October 27th, 2025. Cash reserves. $180,000. Monthly operating costs. $285,000. Payroll, rent, equipment, insurance, suppliers. Monthly revenue. $95,000, down from $95,000. $525,000 pre-tariff. Monthly loss. Negative $190,000. Survival timeline. 60 days maximum, less if we have any unexpected costs. In an effort to continue operating, we have been depleting our cash reserves in the hopes that the tariff issue will be resolved through trade negotiations. We're running out of time, and those negotiations have now been put on indefinite hold. I called an emergency meeting with my leadership team on October 28th. Stephen, operations manager, with me for 19 years, Patricia, sales director, 12 years, and my husband David, who handles our financial management. The trade talks are dead, I said bluntly. Trump suspended them over the Reagan ad. Ford pulled the ad yesterday, but Trump isn't budging, which means we're not getting tariff relief. How long can we last? Stephen asked. David pulled up our cash flow projections. If we maintain current operations, we run out of money by late December. If we make deep cuts immediately, we might stretch into February. But that's optimistic. What kind of cuts? Patricia asked, though her expression showed she already knew. 20 of 31 employees, I said. Massive reduction in production capacity. Keeping only enough staff to fulfill whatever contracts we still have and maintain minimal operations. The room fell silent. These weren't just employees. Many of them had been with me for 10, 15, even 20 years. They were colleagues, friends, people whose children I'd watched grow up. Is there any chance Trump reverses course? Patricia asked. I gave a headshake. Trump doesn't go back. He intensifies. He is referring to Carney's openness to compromise as weakness. He has stated that he has no immediate plans to speak with Carney. Negotiations are dead, and even if they do resume, relief won't come for months. We don't have any months. What about our American clients? Stephen suggested. Can they pressure their government to resolve this? I've been getting emails from them, Patricia said. They're sympathetic. They're frustrated. But they're also starting to source from American suppliers who don't face the tariffs. We're losing them one by one. She pulled up her recent correspondence. Email after email from American clients explaining why they had to stop buying from us. Margaret, our procurement team is forcing us to find domestic suppliers. It's not about quality. Your components are excellent. It's purely about the tariff making your products unaffordable. We've valued our partnership for 15 years, but we can't justify paying 35% more when American alternatives exist. I'm sorry. This is Trump's fault, not yours. If the tariffs get resolved, we'd love to come back. But until then, we have to make business decisions based on current reality. Good people, long relationships, all ending because Trump was mad about an advertisement. Over the next week, I made the hardest decisions of my professional life. November 2nd. Laid off 20 of 31 employees. The meeting was devastating. People cried. People asked how they were supposed to pay their mortgages, afford their kids' college tuition, support elderly parents. I had no answers. I could only apologize for circumstances beyond my control. November 5th. Contacted our 3 largest remaining U.S. clients to inform them we'd be ceasing operations by year-end unless circumstances changed dramatically. All 3 expressed sympathy, but confirmed they'd already begun transitioning to American suppliers. November 8th. Met with our company attorney about bankruptcy options. She laid out the timeline. Chapter 11. Restructuring would take months and require capital we didn't have. Chapter 7. Liquidation would be faster, but meant completely ending operations and selling assets to pay creditors. November 10th. Informed our remaining 11 employees that the business would likely close by January unless a miracle occurred, either Trump reversing the tariffs or trade negotiations resuming and concluding quickly. No one believed either scenario was plausible. The cruelest part is the complete arbitrariness of it all. My business isn't dying because we failed. It's not dying because of poor quality, bad management, or market changes we could have anticipated. It's dying because Trump imposed a punitive 35% tariff as political theater trade negotiations that could have resolved it were making progress. Ontario created a political advertisement. Trump got angry about the advertisement. Trump suspended negotiations indefinitely. My business can't survive while that suspension continues. 6 degrees of separation between a political advertisement and the destruction of a 26-year business that employed 31 people and served clients in 12 U.S. states. And here's what makes it even more absurd. The advertisement was pulled. Premier Ford removed it on October 27th, trying to de-escalate. But Trump doesn't care. He's still refusing to resume negotiations. He's still tweeting about how Canada is dishonest and weak. He's treating our country, America's longest ally, largest trading partner, and closest friend, like an enemy because his feelings got hurt by a television commercial. Prime Minister Carney is making an effort to remain dignified in the interim. Canada is ready to resume negotiations when Washington is ready, he repeatedly asserts. He stresses that workers on both sides of the border benefit from a resolution to the tariff dispute. While Trump is having tantrums, he is attempting to act like the grown-up in the room. But dignity doesn't pay my employees' salaries. Maturity doesn't keep my business solvent. Being the reasonable party doesn't matter when the unreasonable party controls access to the market that represents 73% of Canada's exports. On November 15th, I received an email from Tom, one of my longest-standing American clients. His company in Michigan had been buying from us for 21 years, since 2004, when I was still building the business. Margaret, I wanted to reach out personally rather than just going through procurement. Our company is officially discontinuing purchases from Walsh Manufacturing. It kills me to write this. Your quality has always been excellent. Your team has always been responsive. If the tariff situation changes, we'd love to work together again. But I need you to understand something. This tariff isn't just hurting you. It's hurting us too. We're now paying 18% more for components from American suppliers than we paid you, and the quality isn't as good. Our costs are higher, which means our products cost more, which means we're less competitive globally. Trump thinks he's protecting American industry with these tariffs. But he's making American manufacturers less competitive by cutting us off from efficient Canadian suppliers. Everyone loses except maybe a few domestic suppliers who can now charge more because Canadian competition has been eliminated. I'm sorry, Margaret. You and your team deserve better than this. I read Tom's email 3 times, then sat at my desk and cried for the first time since this crisis began. Not just for my business, but for the sheer stupidity of it all. Trump's tariffs aren't protecting American industry, they're hurting it. Tom's company now pays more for worse components. My business is dying. Canadian workers are losing jobs. American manufacturers are less competitive. Who gains? Due to the elimination of Canadian competition, domestic suppliers are now able to charge higher prices. And Trump gets to say he's tough on trade, despite the fact that his policies hurt businesses and workers across the border. As I write this on November 20th, 2025, Walsh Manufacturing has about $85,000 in cash remaining. At our current burn rate, even with only 11 employees and minimal operations, we have approximately 40 days before insolvency. 40 days until I have to file bankruptcy, lay off the remaining 11 employees, and close a business I spent 26 years building. The trade talks are still on hold. Trump is still upset about an ad that was taken down 3 weeks ago and is refusing to talk to Prime Minister Carney as he travels to Asia for the APEC summit. There are no signs that talks will pick back up anytime soon. Meanwhile, Carney continues to emphasize Canada's readiness to negotiate when Washington is ready, stressing the mutual benefits of resolving the dispute. But Washington isn't ready. Washington is led by a man who would rather destroy businesses and harm workers on both sides of the border than admit he overreacted to a television commercial. 3 of my remaining American clients have confirmed they'll discontinue purchases by year-end. The other 2 are evaluating options, which is corporate speak for "we're leaving too, just haven't finalized it yet." My attorney has prepared preliminary bankruptcy paperwork. We'll file in late December if circumstances don't change. The remaining 11 employees know their jobs will end by January. They're already job hunting, trying to find work in an Ontario manufacturing sector that's being decimated by Trump's tariffs and the collapse of trade negotiations. David and I are 54 years old. We were 5 years from retirement, planning to sell Walsh Manufacturing to a buyer who'd keep the staff employed. Instead, we're facing bankruptcy, trying to figure out what comes next when the industry we've worked in our entire adult lives has been destroyed by political impulsiveness. I'm not sure what happens to a 54-year-old whose business, retirement plans, career, and financial security all vanish at once because a foreign president became enraged over an advertisement. But I'm about to find out. Trump suspended trade talks over a Reagan advertisement. Ontario pulled the advertisement. Trump still refuses to negotiate. My business has 40 days left. That's what happens when trade policy turns into a personal grievance, when political outbursts take precedence over economic realities, and when Canadian businesses and workers are accepted as collateral in an American president's never-ending attempt to look tough at all costs.